host. And today we are so lucky to have on Ask an Expert, Richardson, who is an expert at marketing and advertising for small businesses. Richardson, for 16 years, has been in radio broadcast, and he actually was at the beginning of when Pizza Hut started with grassroots marketing and mass marketing for the Pizza Hut. How many of you guys out there love pizza from Pizza Hut? There used to be a beef and cheddar pizza back in Missouri. They don't have it in Texas. That was just absolutely amazing. It's a different subject though. Maybe I'll have an Ask an Expert with him about Pizza Hut one day. But he is also the general manager and sports director of 94.5 The Beat here in Waco. Rich, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for the invite. This is gonna be fun. Yeah, it's the beef and cheddar was cool, but I remember the Bigfoot. Remember the Bigfoot?
Oh my God.
The big rectangle Bigfoot pizza. That was my favorite.
So I have to tell you a story before we get into the podcast about the Bigfoot pizza. So this friend of mine that I worked with at a furniture store, her name was Misha Wallace in Nevada, Missouri. Her and I were both pregnant at the same time. And we would order a Bigfoot, which, what was it, 2 foot long by
about that, yeah,
2 foot wide or something like that. We'd order the beef and cheddar with mushrooms. And her and I, 2 pregnant chicks, would down that for lunch during the day.
It's not the craziest combination I've heard, though. Trust me.
I bet. So I always tell the kids about this Bigfoot pizza and they don't believe me. So I'm going to make them listen to the podcast and be like, he was there. He knows. Bigfoot was amazing.
Oh, it was amazing. The only bad part to that pizza was getting it in the bag.
Oh, I bet.
Once you put it on the cardboard piece, trying to fit that thing in that bag, oh, that was awful. But outside, that was a fantastic pizza. I was really surprised when they got rid of it.
Yeah, one of my favorite pizzas of all time, the Bigfoot. Because, seriously, with normal people, it would probably feed all people. Not just 2 pregnant chicks.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, our children were very healthy when they were born. I remember that was with my firstborn 20 years ago. Yeah, I got pregnant when I was 9, because I'm only 29. But
gotcha, okay.
Kidding, listeners. Don't So she was 9 pounds, 10 ounces. So she grew from the Bigfoot.
There you go.
That was what he was made of. And Diet Coke. So
good combo.
Rich, tell me, what did you do in a former life before you were in marketing and advertising?
Well, I spent 10 years, I've done radio 16 years. I spent 10 years with Pizza Hut, so it's kind of glossy going back further than that. But did do some things with Home Depot when they first started in Dallas-Fort Worth, and did a lot of the retail type things, and did a lot of, the setting up of the stores and helping out with those kind of things. Just the basic college student kind of stuff. I did my time at McDonald's. As I think everybody at least spent a little bit of time, if not at McDonald's, at a fast food place at some point. And then also did some things with internships at local radio stations and TV stations and newspapers and things like that. So I could kind of get the feel, because I've always had the business in my blood. My father has master's degrees in radio, TV, production, and engineering. And so it's kind of been, but he doesn't want to get in front of the mic. I'm a little more, I'm more comfortable going both directions. He doesn't, as far as he's concerned, he could never get in front of the mic and he don't care. But it's just always been interesting to me. But the last 26 years, I've had some role in the marketing of businesses, and it's been pretty cool, whether it was the business I worked with or the businesses I work for. And it's been a blast. It really has been. And to see what's happened with the stations here in town, and in particular this station, it's phenomenal. And it's, yes, there's the corporate businesses, but the local direct businesses that we work with are 50 times better.
Wow. So do you have any interesting hobbies?
I am a huge sports guy. If it's a sport, I'm involved with it. I used to play baseball for 26 years, all the way into semi-pro ball. I was a catcher, believe it or not. 7 foot tall, and I played catcher. Hence why my knees are shot. But played football, played basketball for a while. Bowling is another one of those. Once the knees get a little better, I might get back to doing. But and then of course, I do a lot of. I enjoy doing a lot of stuff with my family now. I got married the first time a little over 5 years ago at 43. So aging myself, of course. But, I've got 2 sets of twins. One's in the oldest one, one's married, one's in the Air Force. And the youngest 2 just graduated from Midway High School. So they're part of this 2020 graduation that was absolutely berserko. They didn't get to do their prom. They didn't get to do the true graduation, all that kind of stuff. So they have stories to tell their kids. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the sports. And then my wife, and the kids get it too, but my wife is as big a sports fan as I am. Some of the teams are a little different. She's from Louisiana, so she's a Saints fan. I bleed black and gold. I'm a Steelers guy. But we both watch the Rangers. We're both big Rangers fans. I'm, of course, a Pirates fan too, but, we'll go to games. But that's one of the biggest things we miss with this whole pandemic deal is not going to the Ranger games, the new stadium, that whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, hobby-wise, it's pretty much doing stuff with the family and doing stuff with my radio family as well.
Wow. So tell me about marketing and how it was going pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, I mean, you had businesses from all sorts of different directions getting involved with the station, whether it was, fitness centers, car dealers, restaurants. And then, of course, you had events where you had these festivals and these car shows and all these different things going on. We were able to do ticket giveaways for things like, the NBA and for Baylor, Baylor sports and all those kinds of things. Rangers baseball. We do a promotion every summer called the 94 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
And we give away tickets to Six Flags, Schlitterbahn, Fiesta Texas, all those things. Well, yeah. So, things like that were in operation because you still had spring break. Six Flags was open for spring break, before the pandemic hit and all that. And you were growing into the year because in this business, you build into like June. July kind of goes down a little and then it builds back up for the rest of the year. So, we were doing our usual stuff, getting things ready for end of the school year. Doing different things to start working on. We do a lot of community stuff. So we usually we do 2 or 3 different kickball games, volleyball games, that kind of stuff with the elementary schools here in Waco, where our personalities go out and they'll play against the teachers. We'll get some of the students to play with us and we'll play against the teachers. Stuff like that. And we were planning all these different things and even planning things down the road like Susan G. Komen.
Yeah. We've
been the major radio sponsor for the Susan G. Komen run for the last 4 years. And we were starting to plan out things for that and different events for that. And a lot of those events have gone away. There was a lot of activity, a lot of getting out, doing live appearances. We probably average somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 what we call remotes, but live broadcasts a month. Whether we're at a car dealer, at a restaurant, at an insurance office, a tax office, you name it, we're there. Well, especially in the beginning when they said, you're not going anywhere. Yeah. Okay, fine. We couldn't go these places. And we just started doing some here during the month of June with the census.
Yeah.
Where we've teamed up with the city of Waco, and every day this month, in fact, one of my guys is getting ready to go out for one right now. And we go out to a different place in town to get people signed up for the census. because this just in, despite the fact the pandemic's here, they still have a census going on this year. And they're really, everybody's pushing hard to get those numbers in because it affects all these different things. So they're having to get creative on how to get people to do, because you can't have John Q. census taker going, hi, could I take the census survey for you? You can't knock on somebody's door and do that. So they had to come up with creative ways as well. So yeah, I mean, leading into it, we had tons of activity going on, tons of it, that kind of went to a mild roar afterwards.
Yeah, it came to a complete stop 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. So it really affected all businesses, but people don't realize TV, radio, businesses, like it affects y'all too, because you're a small business in Waco also.
Exactly. When they closed the gyms, obviously the gyms quit advertising.
Yep.
Because they didn't need to. Their doors were shut. And that's one of the few times that I can legitimately tell someone, okay, you don't need to advertise. If your doors are locked, we're not, it doesn't make any sense for you to advertise. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely affected us. We came to the conclusion that honestly, in Waco, Texas, to me anyway, the two businesses in this area that were affected the least with this whole thing were Sonic and Bush's Chicken. Because the drive up and the curbside and all that is status quo for those guys.
Yeah.
So they just carried on business as normal. I know Bush's has the little dining rooms and that kind of thing, but the lion's share of their business comes through that drive-through.
Yeah.
Just like with Sonic, you pull in, you do. So they were still doing business as usual. Everybody else not only had to change their outlook with the dining room, but they also had to change their systems for doing the curbside. They had to start doing deliveries and start getting used to these delivery systems that are out there, the Ubers, the Uber Eats, the Grubhubs, the Sikkim deliveries, and all that kind of stuff. So, it was a culture shock for the restaurants as much as it was for the people.
Yeah. It's insane how it just came to a complete stop. Now, it is gradually starting to reopen. We're still not at 100% here in Texas. How have you seen it kind of shift after the reopening phase?
Well, people are a little more open to doing things. People are a little more open to trying to drive those people in. But they're still concerned because they're trying to make up for, like you said, the last 2.5, 3 months that they didn't have any or very little business. On the flip side of that, though, a lot of what's going on is, when you were able to go back to the gyms started advertising again. When you were able to go back and do the hair and nails and that kind of stuff, those types of businesses were able to get back on the air and that kind of thing. But when you look at some businesses, like I'll use auto dealers as a perfect example. Okay. The auto dealers, they're having trouble getting vehicles.
Yeah. Especially
the foreign car dealers, because they're not coming in, because the people that have been working on them, they're in another country and all this other stuff. So they're not getting cars in as frequently. So it's not for not wanting to advertise. They just don't have enough inventory to advertise. Things of that nature. So is it starting to turn a corner? Absolutely. Is it back to where it was? No. No, not at all. But it's definitely getting there. It's getting there. I think a lot of it is the aggressiveness, pseudo-aggressiveness that Governor Abbott has put out there. Granted, some of it has had to be kind of pulled back a little bit, but, allowing the restaurants to gradually go to 25% and then go to 50% and things of that nature. I think that's had a lot to do with things too.
Almost like as a small business owner that what I've seen some people do, sometimes Spouse actually doubled our advertising when this happened, because we were deemed an essential business, because we're a handyman business or a construction business, and also a maid service cleaning business. So we're deemed as essential. But what's happened is about 100,000 small businesses in America have closed permanently.
Yeah.
And also 2% of all small businesses will never reopen. And I've even heard staggering figures for restaurants that 75% of them will close. I mean, the odds are stacked against you in small business anyways. 9 out of 10 businesses don't make it. It's like we're going out there knowing that the odds are against us. We're going to get killed one day. But that 75% of restaurants are going to close, and up to 43% of all small businesses are going to close their doors for others. So what happened with COVID is it brought everything to a screeching halt. Mm-hmm. And those businesses that were roaring, halt, close, they quit doing their marketing. And what happens when they quit doing their marketing, Rich?
It's one of those things that people got scared. And when you get scared, what do? You turtle. You pull into your shell and you get real conservative, and you get to that point where you're like, okay, every penny is staying right here. You know, and I've even used the statement with people before in this. I apologize that it sounds a little harsh, especially in this, you know, this time frame, but I would cut staff before I cut advertising. Mm-hmm. Because the biggest thing that you can do is you can bring staff back. Mm-hmm. If you lose a customer to your competition, you may not get them back. Mm-hmm. And if you go to, you know, I don't care what type of business it is. It could be a tire shop. It could be a restaurant. It could be whatever. Once you lose that customer, it's very, very difficult to get them back, especially if they've gotten good service from the other one. So and then you get the people that are, well, we've got a great location. We've got all this, you know, we've been around for 50 years and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, fantastic. You know, but there's, I have a statement that's, you probably saw it on the bottom of one of my emails when we've talked back and forth. If you threw a party and didn't send out invitations, why would you be mad if nobody showed up? If you're opening your doors and not inviting people to come in, then you have absolutely zero right to be upset that you don't have customers, because you're not, I don't care how good of a location you have. You know, if you look at the corner of Waco Drive and Valley Mills, for those folks that aren't in Waco, Waco Drive and Valley Mills is the busiest intersection in Waco, or second if it's not. 3 different places, 3, have closed in the last 6 months.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but I never saw one drop of advertising for any of the 3 of them. I don't care if it was radio, TV, billboard, whatever. Never saw a drop. Did you? And you know which ones I'm talking about.
No, I do know exactly what you're talking about. And I saw that with my franchisees too. The ones that didn't spend money pre-COVID, they didn't spend money during COVID, and they're out of business. Like, they thought that just the name should let them ride, which some of those businesses you're talking about thought the name should just let them ride. But the thing about advertising is in 2020, and it could be changed because of COVID, but in 2020, a customer has to see your brand at least 16 times in several different types of media. You have to get in front of them, stop their scroll so they can see you, even if it's just for a split second in your brand, so that they'll call you instead of your competition. And when you stop all that, even if you're in business for 50 years and you've got all this momentum with advertising and marketing, and yeah, you're in a great space, but you stop that momentum, I mean, just end it. You can't get 50 years worth of momentum going again when you open the doors, turn on the lights, and start advertising.
Exactly. And I mean, you get a business, and here locally, I mean, one of the biggest examples of the local business that no matter the success that he's had, still is advertising and marketing his business constantly, is George's.
Yep.
You go to George's on a Friday night, good luck to you finding a seat.
True.
But Sammy Sotrano is out there marketing himself constantly, whether it's through Baylor, whether it's through events, whether it's through chamber things. He's still constantly getting it out there. So the analogy that I try to use with folks is, if it's good for him, if it's good for Chick-fil-A, who has a line around the building half the time,
Yep.
if it's good for these monster businesses, then what makes you any better than them? And granted, they'll come back and say, well, I don't have millions of dollars to spend on advertising. And I get that.
Yeah.
This is where I get mad with the Small Business Administration. Because I've done numerous seminars and all these different kinds of things, and been with the Small Business Administration whenever I've done these. They teach the small businesses. I don't know if you went through all their stuff whenever y'all got started or not, but they teach you all the things about overhead and budgeting and, you know, naming your business and all these different other things. They don't say word one about marketing and advertising your business.
Nope.
And then people are wondering, we've got this great service, this great product, but nobody's coming in to buy it. The phone's not ringing, the door's not opening. Well, what are you doing to invite people in? Well, what are you talking about? And they're not taught that. To me, that's the second most important thing you have to do. Your systems of operations and your staff are number one. How you're getting customers is number two, because there's only two ways to grow a business. This was taught to me by a very wise man, Bill LeGrand, many, many years ago. You sell more people, or you sell the people you got more. That's the only way you can do it. I have got to, is there a way to, I hate to do this to you, Christy. I have got an emergency. Am I able to take care of something?
I understand. What we can do is just wrap up this half of the podcast and then come right back to it. So just let me know.
That would be great. You want me to hit you up on Messenger?
Yeah, hit me up on Messenger.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'll holler at you in a few minutes.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
This was part one of the interview with Rich Richardson. He has to step away for a few minutes, and since this is a live podcast, we'll come right back and have part two of Ask an Expert with Rich Richardson. We'll be right back, you guys.
Okay. Sorry, this thing's been scheduled for weeks. That's why I was. This is going to go to 11. What's up?